Hey, what's up, guys? We're steadily hitting the end of Unit 5, so this should be our last topic within this unit, which is 5.9 Society in the Industrial Age. As you're going through this, and as you're looking, this is not going to take long and it's not going to be a ton of information, but you are going to have to identify it not only as things within this topic, but also zooming out to the overall broad point. The reason I say that is because if you look at Learning Objective 1 at the top of the page, it says explain how industrialization caused change in existing social hierarchies and standards of living. That is, as we look at this unit, as we zoom out, on it within the economic and within the social, that is going to be the big topic, is what changes because of industrialization. So tie it all back into this when it comes down to it. This is your big overall point. So like I said, it's not a lot of information, but you're going to have to not only know it as an individual topic, but also as part of the bigger picture. So here's the answer to the question. Look at the objective. What kind of changes happened in social hierarchies because of the Industrial Revolution? Boom. New social classes, including the middle class and the industrial working class, developed because of the Industrial Revolution. Be able to explain that, like with the things that we talk about here, but also using your own words. So, as far as the characteristics of it, with the working class, it's kind of self obvious, but these are going to be the people that worked in factories. That's not going to happen without the Industrial Revolution because there are no factories. These people are typically going to be some of the lowest skilled, and that's not to diminish them and say they don't have skills. It's to say that the jobs that these people did were relatively low skilled. Like you did the same job day after day. It's repetitive. It's grueling mentally and physically because you're doing the same thing over and over within the factory conditions that we've kind of alluded to and talked about as we went through this unit. Um, Along with them being low skilled and low skilled and low paying jobs, these people are also going to be very easily replaceable. These are times where there are no worker protections or very little worker protections at all. If you get sick and miss a day at work and you come back the next day, somebody has probably taken your job. If you get hurt at work, you're probably going to be replaced. If you speak out against the factory owner, you're probably going to be replaced. Like they're very, very, very precarious. This group of people, the working class, their working lives and their just lives in general are very precarious compared to other places because they don't make a lot of money and because they need to live typically close to where they work because of that lack of income they're making. Um, they're going to be crammed into apartment buildings, which in this time period are called tenements, which are basically going to be combined in ethnic neighborhoods to form what are referred to at the time as urban slums. So their living conditions are not going to be great, which we'll talk about when we get to urbanization here in a couple slides. uh, their work lives are not that great or anything else. Like this is the bottom of the bottom during this time period. So just to be able to kind of identify the characteristics of them and also the fact that this class of people really doesn't exist before the Industrial Revolution. On the flip side of that, you have another class that is developed. This is the middle class. These are the people, this is not necessarily the factory owners or the people who ran the businesses. These are more middle managers, people who work office jobs, people who make a decent living, but are not at the top of the economic food chain. Their lives are going to be completely different than the working class. Like they are going to have a little disposable income. They are going to be able to live a little further from work. They're not going to have to live in these neighborhoods. Um, they're going to have access to cultural and educational components that the working class is not as well. So they can go to the theater, they can send their kids to school, they can go to a concert hall, they can go on vacation, they can, in some cases, as we move forward, have a second home, they can go to the beach, whatever it is. They have access to entertainment, to not luxury necessarily, but recreational things that other lower classes don't. And once again, this only crops up during this time period because of the Industrial Revolution. All right, next we get to the next topic or the next answer to the question with not only the middle class, but middle class women who were increasingly limited to roles in the household or roles focused on child development. As we move into the second industrial revolution, the jobs get um, more and more male dominated in steel factories and other industrial factories. As that happens, along with I don't know if I'd tie the factory workers into this, but with middle class families and with upper class families, you're going to see a push for women to stay in the house and essentially divides society up into separate spheres, which means each gender within a family, husband and wife, both have their responsibilities towards the home. They have their sphere with which they stay in. In other words, stay in your lane, stay in your bubble. Um, the man's job is to, according to this, the man's job is to go out, make the money, work hard, be responsible for his family, and everything else that goes along with that. The woman's job, the wife's job, is to basically run the household like a company is ran, to raise the children, to be responsible for their education, to be responsible for upholding and upkeeping the house, for all of these things that are basically domestic housewife responsibilities. Now, the thing with this is that at this time, at the beginning, uh, this is not seen as a detriment to women. Both of these spheres were seen with equal respect. Like the woman's job within the family, with the running of the household, was seen as being on the same level with the man bringing in the money. So, you know, um, it's not great for women, obviously, comparatively to today, but you do need to kind of recognize that it was a respected middle class responsibility during this time. And that's going to lead into the cult of domesticity, which we will talk about a little bit down the line. So we've got the working class, we've got the middle class, we've got middle class women. Then we get to see, and like I said, this wasn't going to take long, the rapid urbanization that accompanied global capitalism at times led to a variety of challenges. This is going to be your other change, which are the challenges from urbanization. So I would circle these two as you go. And then here's the list of some of the urban problems. And it really, a lot of it boils down to these cities just weren't equipped for the growth that came with factories, not only in England with the town or the city of Manchester, but also in places like New York and Chicago and the northeastern part of the United States. Other parts in Europe. Look, when your population is growing exponentially and you don't have infrastructure and services for the people who are already there, you're going to run behind and you're going to run into problems like disease. You're going to run into dirt and grime and filth and everything else. You're going to have corruption playing a role in it. You're going to have crime start to pop up because there's no enforcement. There's a whole class of people who are basically desperate on a daily basis. You've got horribly built houses that are not well constructed. You've got really no roads. You've got bad bridges, no running water. You can kind of read through those. I don't have to go through them all, but they all stem from the unprecedented growth that happens within these factories or within these cities because of these factories and everything dealing with the Industrial Revolution. And I would say, to be honest with you, I would probably tie this in. Well, you don't really have to, but it's probably going to tie more into the second industrial revolution versus the first. So, like I told you guys, I got some pictures on here, it's kind of examples of tenement buildings, and you can kind of see the crowdedness of it. Looks kind of like modern day apartment buildings, but the insides look a little bit different as it goes. So be able to identify what's going on in these, and you should be okay. Once again, this is a short one as we go, but it's going to wrap up us with Unit 6. You will be responsible for it on your next exam. You probably will have to bring it in to the DBQ, possibly bring it in to any kind of writing that we do. And then other than that,